Hey guys, I was gonna do a review. It's gonna be a huge breakdown of the episodes of Flash, Legends, and action video because of stuff going on and prep for Thanksgiving. I hope all of you had a great Thanksgiving. And also, but that being said, I will make it a priority to do reaction videos for the Crisis on Earth X Fortnite crossover that's happening Monday and Tuesday because how can I not? That's like too anticipated. That's too good to not do reaction videos to that. And even though I know too much about that plot, stuff going on in that event already, I'm hoping it'll be better than Justice League. I'm hoping to, like I said, just give genuine reactions, and hopefully that won't, my schedule will be damned, and I'll just be able to have a good time just like watching it. We'll all have a good time watching it, but I'll just do like quick reviews just because for episodes this week, just because of my schedule and because I'm still trying to get caught up on other shows that I've been falling behind on. So I'm going to start with Flash, then Legends, then Arrow. I'll put timestamps in the description box down below just so you can jump around and watch the reviews or whatever shows that you're following in whatever order you would like. So for The Flash, it's season 4, episode 7. Therefore I am, obviously from the phrase "I think, therefore I am," and we finally get the long-anticipated backstory for the Thinker, aka Clifford DeVoe. It turns out that he has a background. He's a South African background, just like the actor Neil Sanderlands, I think, and he worked as I guess both he and his wife Marliese, like his assistant, who turns out to his assistant actually turns out to be his wife. I guess they both taught. Like they're South African professors who got jobs at Central City University. DeVoe was a history teacher, and she was Marliese was she was like a mechanical engineer and a professor, and DeVoe was frustrated about how not being able to teach his students and how they didn't pay attention to him in class, and now he's just wanting to like improve people's minds, to change the way they think, and like improve the world. And he's the one, and they worked as a team, and he was like and I guess they were trying, and you can tell they were doing. I like how they're trying to do parallels between him and Barry and Iris, where it's like the whole behind every great man is a great woman. Barry relying on Iris for have a shoulder to lean on and emotional support, and then we have, and similar to DeVoe, she provide Marliese provides some moral support, and also the tech. She's like the tech person. Or I guess she takes over. She fills the tech role, kind of like Cisco, because he's the one who comes with the idea of the thinking cap, and as a way to improve his intelligence. And they devised that Thon's particle accelerator coming on would be enough that the energy from it would be enough to power the thinking cap. And they actually show up at the same prep, and during the flashbacks, they actually show up at the press conference just after Barry and Iris are chasing after the purse snatcher in the pilot, and they show up at the conference like asking about Thawne in his guise of Harrison Wells, if they really went through all the tests, and is it really going to make sure when it comes online there's not going to be any errors or accidents. And when Thawne's inquiring like who she is, she says Marliese DeVoe, and he goes, "Then I'm assuming that means the man to your right is Clifford DeVoe." And as a reaction, Tom Cavanaugh's performance is just like, Clifford DeVoe. I'm a big fan of your work. I thought it was kind of cool that being from the future, that he knows that DeVoe was going to become the villain. Like, he basically was going to become one of Barry's worst enemies, regardless of what timeline he or Barry messed with. Pre-Flashpoint, post-Flashpoint, etc. And And just to also drive the parallels even further, they remind the audience how in the pilot it was like raining and there was a thunderstorm during when the particle accelerator was activated, and just like Barry, he also got struck by lightning while DeVoe was wearing the thinking cap and succeeded in boosting his intelligence. But the side effect was that all the energy from his nervous system is being funneled to his brain to increase his intelligence to the point where now he is basically developed some like evolved form of ALS in which parts of his body were shutting down, and why he's actually in a wheelchair. He actually needs it, and it's slow, and the effects from the particle accelerator are slowly killing him, which is why we get a shot of him later on. It's so bad that you actually see like when DeVoe has to be like reattached to his hovering chair, which presumably Marlize designed with Clifford's help because of his boosted intelligence as a means of keeping him alive. They actually see like his exposed brain as he like gets connected to like the helmet and the chair and the suit and all this other stuff. And the entire time he's managed to like, because of like DeVoe tells Barry later on he has limitless thought. He does a good job of covering his tracks to the point where they have a good they're gonna come with a good backstory. Barry like sneaks into his house, although like an idiot, he doesn't try to like wear any kind of concealment, and he actually just searches around the house like besides a hoodie, and just searches the house like at his normal speed to the point where the DeVoes catch him on camera and take it to the CCPD, Captain Singh, to the point where not only does DeVoes have evidence to file a restraining order against him, but also they get Barry suspended for 2 weeks, which I'm kind of surprised that. But I guess for the sake of the plot, he was like, that's all that happened, because I thought it would have been far more severe, like getting fired or something, like Ralph. And I guess you can. And the thing is that he basically, DeVoe plays dumb and tries to act like, Barry has no grounds for like, ruling him out as for like trying to keep interrogating him and keep visiting him at CC University, and he thought, I thought you ruled me out as a suspect and person of interest. And even Barry's like put up a new board with all these like pictures and articles, and I don't know what those called, but it's almost like what police, I guess like stuff that I guess police officers use to like hunt for like serial killers or whatever. And like Barry is like, everything Barry says is right about DeVoe, to the point where DeVoe's like the idea man, and Moise comes up with a tech. But now it gets to the point where even Team Flash is starting to have their doubts because they can't find any evidence on him, and even though they came up as like 92% correct, and even though there was a camera in from the Samurai Barry finds of how DeVoe was spying on them, they still think like, Barry, I think you kind of like you went too far. I think you like going over the line. And even to the point where Barry took a mug from the DeVoe's house and tried to have Cisco vibe it to see if there was anything suspicious about him, and all he's able to vibe was just the two of them like having dinner and how they have like make great mac and cheese, and basically Barry's not, after all of this, it's only after like DeVoe just gloats to Barry after he's gets the restraining order, and Barry approaches him in spite of it, just telling him that you've dealt with all these enemies, Thawne, Zoom, Savitar, Grodd, and although it's like, oh, your council Wells, were they able even to figure out like who I am? They wouldn't even be able to figure out who I am or like really know anything about me, and say like Barry may be the fastest man alive, but DeVoe was the fastest mind. He has the power of limitless thought, and he doesn't. and I guess that's the reason why Barry deduces that why Cisco wasn't able to vibe anything off of him. It was just like all the particle accelerator did, like, was just boost his intellect. It didn't really like give him any like superpowers besides that. It's just he's a superhuman intellect. It's only after that confession that they're able to do any that they finally take a side, and it just felt like it felt kind of stupid because you would think that, but because they had Ralph not involved in the episode except for like a stretch, I guess like the flash stretch scene, which they do to like deleted scenes that are, I guess, like promoted by Microsoft Surface or whatever they do. It's weird, but I wasn't able to see it while it actually aired just because of work. Um, it was But basically, I don't know why it didn't occur to Barry to maybe at least ask Ralph, hey, did the guy devote? He at least have like a South African accent when he talked to you? Um, DeVoe could have disguised it, but who knows? But they decide that, okay, we're kind of in a position where Barry decides that they can't talk. They obviously can't do anything about DeVoe now, so let's just focus on the wedding. DeVoe says that he has like enough. He's not going to interfere with Barry's wedding just because of the fact that I guess he has like too much empathy or whatever empathy he has left towards that couple. When he says that what's knowledge without love, just because of the relationship he has with his wife and how they have such a strong relationship, it's like he doesn't want to like just break that bond just for evil's sake. And it's something that it's like little things like that that adds layers to both the DeVoes and what make I feel like DeVoe's going to shape up to be a much better major antagonist than what we've gotten over the last couple of years. And it'll be interesting to see how the team is going to deal with him, from the mid-season finale forward. And I know people have felt like this season so far has been like had like too much comedy and almost point of being goofy, not having any stakes. I feel like this is I find that understandable. I mean, it's still so far the season has still been better than season 3 to me, even though it hasn't quite gotten to the levels of 1 and 2. But I feel like this may happen with the plot finally moving forward, and it'll be interesting to see how the team deals with DeVoe and how it'll be more of like a chess game of sorts, and Barry having to rely on his intellect more than his speed to outsmart him. And maybe there'll be a reason to have Harry around the whole season instead of just getting another Wells. And just see how things play out after the crossover. With Legends of Tomorrow, Season 3, Episode 7, this is the episode where we get to... It's Welcome to the Jungle. This is where we get to... Because Sarah is still in a coma from nearly getting killed from Nora Dark in Episode 6... The team decides to just continue carrying on without her, and their next anachronism they decide to address is one during the Vietnam War, and it creates. I think the two people who go through the biggest arcs are probably Amaya and Mick. With Mick, because of the fact that it turns out his dad was a veteran there and fought in the war. His name is Dick Rory. You can tell the writers put a lot of thought into the character's name. And he was a Green Beret, and Nate points out how that's like one of the highest honors of being in the U.S. military. And then Mick just bluntly states how he has no remorse. He was glad that his dad died in the arson that he started. That accidentally burned his family alive, because of he also has daddy issues like Snart did, and he was implied to be an abusive parent. And the actor who plays him, I think his name is Evan Jones, he was trying to like emulate a lot of the mannerisms that Dominic Purcell brings to Mick, with the gruff voice and whatnot. But I don't know. You can tell like it just felt more like there were times, I don't know. It felt like it was doing a little bit, doing more of like an imitation, and it just felt, I don't know. It just felt more natural when Dominic Purcell does it, and you realize that his experiences during the war and the fact that his Dick was so bitter about his soldiers dying and wanting to get revenge, and later on in the episode he tries to execute a bunch of Vietnamese villagers for being complicit and involved in the murder of his soldiers in his platoon. That Mick is able to talk him out of it and tell him stop him from doing something he's going to regret, but not before punching out Dick out, because, like he said, he's still bitter about the abuse. But now, when he realizes that his dad wasn't always a monster, he's a product of a victim of circumstances, a product of his environment, fighting this war. Like, now he actually feels remorse for killing him, and even at one point he even said that he wished he should have been the one to die in the fire. And I guess he almost wants to. There's a moment where he wants to tell his dad inadvertently more about his future and try to improve his family life. And I guess like what happens with I guess like the arson that kills the entire Rory family. But I guess he just tells him just to, I guess like validate him for making the right call, and not warn him, and not try to warn him about what's going to happen due to fear of changing the timeline too much, and decides just as a way of moving on, just to give Nate his lighter, saying he doesn't need it anymore. Amaya, the biggest arc is the fact that she's trying to cope with the fact that not only does she have another granddaughter besides Mari, but a granddaughter that turned out to be evil. And it's just she's also, you can't forget that she's from the 1940s and fought in World War II, and everything was more black and white back then. And naturally, like, everything she goes throughout this show, she realized things are not as cut and dry, and she even learns that that was the same thing with during with the Vietnam War, with Americans' involvement being being controversial to like people in the Vietnamese in the war, like switching sides, and at least if they're native from Vietnam. And they meet this woman, I think his name is An Lai, who takes them to a person who she declares their new god, and helping like Americans and Vietnamese work together. And it turns out to be a time-displaced Gorilla Grodd, whose master plan is to convince the president to, during his visit during Vietnam, to set up landmines, which was supposed to be, and because of his assassination on foreign soil during a war like that, and especially during the Cold War, it would lead to World War III, and fulfill Grodd's goal in trying to wipe out humanity, because he's still pissed about his experiences with General Eiling experimenting on him, and the military experimenting on him back when he was on The Flash. And Amaya tries to use the totem and summon a gorilla spirit to try to reason with Grodd and say that, we're time travelers, we can take you to somewhere where, away from humans, where you get some measure of peace. And you think it starts to work, but then Mick and Dick, along with the other American troops, kind of arrive at the village with other soldiers. And of course, Grodd gets pissed, and now he just decides like he's going to steal the Wave Rider and go back in time and change the course of evolution so humans never exist. And Martin, who's still on the Wave Rider, working with, apparently he's traveled through time to get Marie Curie, Isaac Newton, and Galileo to help with the separation of Firestorm. But the whole thing, of course, gets interrupted with when he learns Grodd's coming for the Wave Rider, and he tries to fly the ship out of there, but Grodd already jumps on and uses a comatose Sarah to attack him, but then Isaac Newton comes to the rescue and knocks her out with a frying pan. And Jax wasn't on the Wave Rider at the time because he learned about these Gideon's report about how a possible future where Lyndon B. Johnson's assassination would lead to World War II, and he decides that he doesn't want Martin to come along because he realizes that if he's going to separate from him, he has to learn to be a hero on his own, and so he manages to, after Lyndon B. Johnson steps on a landmine, he manages to do the whole, like, freeze the landmine or mine trick and helps him navigate through the landmine to not step on any more landmines and essentially save his life. Although, I don't know who was working in the makeup department, but the actor they hired to look like Lyndon B. Johnson did a good job, but whoever did the makeup for him, like, it was not convincing at all. Like, it looked very conspicuous and didn't look anything like Lyndon B. Johnson, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. It looked more like, I don't know, like the first cousin of that government agent from the Dominators crossover last year or something. Like, it was bad. But it was cool to see Jax get this kind of arc and realize that, he's gonna have to trying to learn how to, like, fend for himself without Martin. And also just, I guess just having images, like, of what Grodd went through projected into her head. It made her come to terms with what happened with Colt Wassa and realize that both of them, they weren't born monsters, they were just made into them. And the only reason, and they're able to get away from Grodd just from Martin having the Wave Rider time jump, just when they're, the American Air Force is about to drop a bunch of napalm, and you think Grodd's about to burn to death, but then Damien Dark uses, like, Time Stone to bring him back to present day and recruit him into the cult of Malice. And I knew it was going to be, like, a major, at first I just thought, wow, is this really going to have to get rid of Grodd? Like, I thought that he was going to be a villain this season. I wasn't sure if he was going to be a villain of the week or a recurring villain like Damien Dark is, but now I know it's going to be recurring. He probably won't be featured as much just because of the CGI, because, I figured the show already uses enough CGI and he's a pretty expensive villain to have feature on the show. But it's cool we get to see him possibly more often here than we would on The Flash, and it'll be interesting to see how he fits into all this. For Arrow, Season 6, Episode 7, which happens to be titled Thanksgiving, and actually did air on Thanksgiving. This is where, they have, like, Oliver and Felicity and William, they're at, like, a charity event, like, giving out, I guess collecting food and canned goods and opening up the newly redesigned police station after Helix and Black Siren, bombed the place in the season premiere. So, but then of course we have annoying ass Agent Watson who just comes in and arrests Oliver for being the Green Arrow from multiple accounts of vigilantism, murder, etc. And this is all while he's, like, giving a speech, and, his son's there, and he's very pissed off that, she did this in front of his son. And he's basically just trying to deny, just deny it, not confess to anything, but says that but Oliver said that he's going to go after her for, I guess it was like wrongful prosecution or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but the thing is, like Diggle says, and even though Curtis gives him something to help with his tremors, that they have to not let word get out that the Green Arrow's in prison, or else crime's going to spread. But the problem is that Kate and James and Black Siren are back, and they steal some kind of device in attempts to build a bomb. Or at least stealing components in attempts to build a bomb. And it turns out they're going to bomb a Billy Joel concert at the Star City Stadium. And the thing is that during one of the fights with Black Siren and James's men, that even that the drug that Curtis gives to help Diggle, it turns out he's like it's weakening him. I think he was bleeding from the mouth. I think it was from either from the combination of the drug and the steroids being in the system, or like being like punched around by one of James's men. But he's in the hospital, and he realized it was a combined effects from both the steroids, his steroid use, and Curtis's experimental drug that that basically just led to him that now it's a matter of now like the nerve damage and is now spread to his back, and that if he spends any more time out in the field, that it could lead to him being paralyzed. And Oliver expressed a disappointment for Diggle lying about the steroid use. Felicity apparently has not been told about the steroid use until just this episode, and is pissed that that Curtis like just went on and just used an experimental drug without consulting her. But yeah, Curtis is pissed off how like she went on and like named the company without consulting Curtis, and also the fact that the money that money that it was like it's supposed to be like money from an investment, I guess from a financial backer for their company that it was supposed to use for their startup, and now is being used that out of desperation because the judge said that that Oliver, up until his trial, that they had to pay $5 million for bail and $500,000 for the bond. That all of that money, that Felicity had to take all that money and use it to get him out of prison, just so he'd still be able to see his son, and also the fact that that all these circumstances like have forced him to suit up and take on the Green Arrow mantle again, especially when the stadium comes under attack, and Renee tries to set the fire alarm off to get everybody out, but the cops are letting them out. But they realize that the cops they're no FBI or cops actually at the stadium. They're all Caden's men in disguise, and then Oliver shows up and confronts Caden face to face, and you find out that the reason that Caden James went through all this was to get the Green Arrow's attention, and also because he blames the Green Arrow for his son's disappearance, and now he's trying to avenge him, which it felt very underwhelming just because like we just had a season where it's just like, okay, you had Prometheus trying to avenge his dad's death. So it just felt like, it just kind of felt like we've been here and done this, and the thing is like it's almost like the writers don't even have any idea about of like how far like we don't know anything about who's Caden James' son. We never met him, and now they're saying all we know about him is that his name's Owen Post, and that he disappeared when Caden was taken into Argus custody, and that Caden was an absentee father, didn't play like a major role in his life anyway, and they have no reason or any kind of connections as to or find anything as to why Caden is even blaming Team Arrow. But things go from bad to worse when it turns out there was he leaks camera footage of Team Arrow attacking his men, and because they're all dressed up as cops, they just thought, oh, the Team Arrow's attacking police officers now, and so the whole city in response, and the whole vigilante bill, which was turned to a city-wide referendum, is I guess almost universally voted for. People universally vote again for the bill. So now it's like it puts them in a tight spot for them to going out at night and helping stop crime. And the thing is that you have Oliver apologizing for being selfish and not considering Diggle and his family, and that he was asking a lot of him when taking on the Green Arrow mantle. But then you have one, he lies to William about who was out in the Green Arrow outfit during the stadium attack, saying it's like, oh, it's only temporary. It's like once you heal up, it's like we're gonna have you like you can take up the mantle again. Especially since John Diggle said and brings up how when they were in the fake reality by the Dominators last year, that being the Green Arrow was something he took up, not just as part of it was because it was like wish fulfillment. He was doing something he never realized he wanted. But at the same time, it's like I'm just like slightly confused as to with okay, so you can't, you just said they can't go back into the field, otherwise Diggle's at risk getting paralyzed because of the strain of his body. And then it's like, okay, we know you, and then Felicity getting mad at Curtis about using an experimental drug without consulting him, because it's like, what does it matter? It's like, what the hell does it matter? I guess like it just felt like kind of forced drama. I just wanted to give her something to do, and just feeling like she has the right to have some like a say in something that I guess is not really, she does. It's debatable as to whether or not she has a say in it at all. Like how I guess like after finding out that Oliver had an illegitimate son and how he, you know, was dealing with that whole situation, and you know, I don't know. It was just kind of weird. I think they just wanted to just give her something to do, but not necessarily put her in a positive light. But I think it was like a pretty good episode in spite of it. I mean, I don't think it's one of the stronger episodes I've seen this year, but at least like the plots moving forward. Actually, I don't know if I want to say the plots moving forward. I just feel like the thing is the writers need to, one, give Agent Watson clear motivation, even though he's exited stage left, that she's become an insufferable one-note character, just there to antagonize the Team Arrow just because. And I read something on Facebook saying how they think that maybe like she's being blackmailed into working for King James, into going after Team Arrow because King James had dirt on Agent Watson, and so maybe that'll be interesting. Like Watson tried to go after Caden before Argus got to him, but he was able to get some dirt on her, and they made some kind of deal where it's like, okay, I won't reveal any of this information about you, but I'll give you all this information about Team Arrow, and you help me ruin their reputation and get back at the Green Arrow and company. And that will definitely be more interesting and give a lot more layers to the whole thing, at least for her character, as opposed to Caden, who is just like avenge a loved one thing. But I don't know. It's just like, I don't know who's the main villain supposed to be. They say it's Richard Dragon. You were going back to King James and Black Siren. You saw a Vigilante out there, Anatoly. I just feel like they're going to fall into the trap that Supergirl did, where it's like they need to have a main villain. And I feel like a main villain objective, I mean, having one villain or one group of villains help not only obviously antagonize the heroes, but also helps drives the plot and would help give the season a sense of direction. This season, I feel like, does not have a clear sense of direction if they keep jumping back and forth between villains. Like, I know they're trying to do with the whole thing of family and, you know, trying to give everybody on the team like their own little like arch rival, but it's still, unless they're going to join forces, it just feels like it's going to fall into the same trap as Supergirl Season 2, where like there's no clear antagonist and it lacks a sense of direction. Which is why, in some ways, it's kind of been, which I feel that's how I feel like the show's been struggling. But anyway, how do you guys feel about it? How do you guys feel about all the shows this week? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.